All right, so you were just asking me about my warm-up. So here's what I do. So stand over here. You can follow along, but I do the same thing every time. It's funny because I do a lot of back nines in the morning with students, and the last thing I need to do is get injured.
Sure.
If I haven't been moving and stuff, like sleeping all night.
Right.
So one of the first things I always do when I first get there is I usually kind of bring my shoulder blades back, and I do arm circles. One of the number one things people do is they get rotator cuff injuries because of them not having their rotator cuff warmed up before they swing. So I've heard of people getting one swing, rip their rotator cuff, and they're done, right? So I do it till it's warm. If it's burning, that means that it's warmed up. Then I go the other way, and I go backwards. So I go forward, then backwards, right? And I do my arm circles. Then, from there, when my arms are out, I go to the sides, and I do what's called the windmill. This stretches your sides. You want to do it kind of slow, because it's stretching right here, like I feel it along my side of my body as I'm stretching, right? So I do some of those usually back and forth, okay? After I've done that, then I try and do some hip lifts where I lift my leg on the side here. I'm trying to warm up my outer hip, kind of fire up my balance systems, right? And I'll do that on both sides where I'll move my leg back and forth, right, like this, okay? I'll also usually mix in some of this. You'll see a lot of pros will do this. This warms up the forearms, kind of gets all your muscles in your arm going, right? And I do that on both arms, usually, right? And then from there, what I'll usually do, I like to do then a deep squat. So I'm trying to stretch my hips a little bit here, my inside of my legs. Sometimes I'll even kind of do some stuff like this, okay? Then I'll usually stand up and kind of move my hips around a little bit more, and then kind of stretch out like that, kind of like this the snowflake they call it. And then I feel pretty warm. Then when I'm going to start warming up, I usually start out first with some real little shots, just little kind of 10-yarder maybe first, And I tend to like to do this little ladder drill they call it, where I hit a ball, only that far maybe, and then I'm trying to hit my next ball 5 or 10 yards past, then my next ball a little bit past, right? So I'm basically looking at my target and then going, okay, this ball is going to go a little further than that one, then the next one, again, a little bit further than the one before. As you see, kind of progress my way out. Typically the first 10 balls, I want to do the first 100 yards, meaning I'm going to go 10 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards, 40 yards, 50 yards, 60 yards, 70 yards, 80 yards, 90 yards, 100 yards, 10 balls, 10 yards each, right? And then I'm warmed up, I would say. Cool. So that's kind of what I do. And then I usually switch into my, depending on what course I'm playing or what I'm doing that day, I'll go for my lob wedge, usually hit a few pitching wedges, maybe hit some 8-irons, then hit some 5-irons or 6-irons, then maybe hit my hybrid, hit some drivers, right? And then what I like to do...
Skip a few clubs but move your way up.
Right. What I love to do is the last thing I want to do is hit the club I'm going to hit on the first tee.
Okay.
So if it's driver, the last thing I want to do is hit my driver on the range, then walk over the first tee and do the same damn thing I did.